Gentlemen, I just thought I'd be polite and come see you because I thought you were friends. I didn't want to be rude
All right, you're texting.
Somebody had it, Jim. Yeah, I see that. Thank you. Good, how are
Okay, it is big. Let me go. Okay, I like that. Not just anybody wear that. What's it? I know. They put out like I said.
Or like this.
They're about ready to get started. Were you going to do the public? Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll get started in about 3 or 4 minutes here. Please find your seats, find 8 seats. Thank you all.
Good, how are you?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you please take a seat and we'll get started today. If you'd all rise and remove your numbers, and I'll lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. I'd like to welcome all of you today to the State of the County Address, the first annual, February 8, 2018, at the Josephine County Floral Building. Today we're going to touch on, it's going to be a little bit different format, I think, than we've ever tried before. I could stand up here, and the Board of County Commissioners could stand up here and tell you everything that's going on in Josephine County, but that really isn't what we're all about. Josephine County is about each and every department within that county. What we're going to do today is we're going to introduce you to all of our departments in the county. Some of them are here today, and some of them I will take care of. But we're going to have about 5 minutes for each one of our presenters. They're just going to come up one at a time, and they're going to give you they'll give you the story of their department, where they've been, where they are today, and maybe a few challenges for the future of our county. So I appreciate everybody taking the time from their day. It's a beautiful day, but if I can sit inside on Super Bowl weekend, I think you can get by for a couple hours here today. Starting off, we're going to start with our elected officials, and we'll start off with legal is our first person up. Our legal counselor, Wally Hicks. Wally, can you come up?
Hello, what a turnout. So, on an administrative note, for the realtors in the audience, please be sure to sign in with Susan so you will get credit. I'm going to dock that out. Yep, she's right there wearing red. All right, so this is the inaugural State of the County event. I guess I'm the inaugural speaker for the event. So what an exciting honor that really is. But because we have only 5 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and skip the remainder of the monologue. The joke got cut as well. And save that for the end, perhaps, questions. And I'll get right to the meat of the matter. So legal counsel is a lot more diverse than the title lets on about. Though it would be nice to sort of sit in my office with my colleagues and philosophize about the law all day. That doesn't actually turn out to be the standard experience. So we have a very strong staff in legal counsel. And of course, I am a leader of the staff and of the office. We have traditionally had one assistant county legal counsel, and that has expanded to 2. Revenue from the cannabis tax has allowed your county to bring in another assistant county legal counsel, and that person will be a specialist in land use matters. And so we have hired a new lawyer in the office, and he is doing an absolutely outstanding job so far. We saw a transition in our law library program, which I also administer. The law library had been open only 4 hours a week during that period between when our prior law librarian left to go to another county department, and we were able to hire his replacement. So we have brought on his replacement. We have an excellent law librarian now working for you, and she is a retired Navy officer, and she is manning the station, if you will, upstairs at the law library, 20 hours per week, every week. We're open 3 mornings and 2 afternoons. And so that's a service that we're providing to the community, and it gets a wonderful level of usage. We have brought in, or we're trying to bring in a new property manager. We're in current discussions with a new candidate for our property manager job. The prior property manager moved to a different department, but once we get that person in place, we'll be able to resume that program. And we have a very experienced staff member who is going to someday, we fear, embark on a well-earned, well-deserved retirement. And so I want to assure you all that we do have a deliberate transition plan to get that wonderful wealth of knowledge from that person absorbed into people who will stay past her time. So her legacy will endure, and we are very deliberately getting that transition underway. All right, so just very quickly covering, I call these the big cases. These are cases not against individuals, but against institutions. Your county government is a means by which to hold other institutions accountable for following the law. And so I'll just touch on each one very, very briefly. There is a case, we teamed up with Jackson County in a case against the public employee retirement system. There was an alleged debt that we are contesting. Josephine County and Jackson County are contesting. A favorable ruling in that case could have very, very helpful implications for similarly situated employers throughout the state. I could spend 50 minutes talking about that, but I'm not going to be able to. The mortgage electronic recording system for the realtors out there, I want to make sure you know that just as Multnomah County successfully sued MERS and got a settlement, I think they got about $9.2 million out of their lawsuit because MERS was breaking the law, and Multnomah held them accountable. Here, Josephine County has teamed up with 13 other counties in a class action, and is also suing the electronic recording system for recovery of back fees that were owed. There are 2 cases currently against the federal government, and we're teamed up with allies in those cases as well. They are wending their way through the system and pending currently in Washington, D.C. Those cases center on natural resources management. And we are also examining our options in regards to wildfire policy that the federal government has been misusing. And also, there's a Mercy Flights case. I only have a minute left. Okay, almost the last point here is that your property management program is a revenue earning program. The legal counsel's office is a revenue earning office. And so we were able to get the property management program regenerated after years of not existing. And as you can see, in fiscal year ending 2016, it brought in $68,000. 2017, a little over $1 million. And so far this fiscal year, the fiscal year that will end in 2018, the program has brought in nearly $600,000. So since getting the program back up on its feet and working again, it's brought in about $1.6 million to your county coffers. And I wanted to point out something going forward. So I am the public records officer of Josephine County. My office last year, and this isn't countywide, just the ones that made it to my office. There were 85 requests filled by those, and that's basically, it's largely me handles those. So that's pretty much what I have to say about that. Anyone else?
Thank you very much, Molly. Our next official is District Attorney Ryan Wilkins. As Ryan's coming up here, I want everybody to make sure you hit the Wild River Pizza and Brewery concession back there in the back. We really appreciate you guys coming on board and supporting this. Ryan Wilkins.
Good afternoon. This slide gives a sense generally of the tasks that are required by myself and the other attorneys in my office. We review police reports to determine if charges are appropriate, file criminal cases in court, we present cases to the grand jury, we negotiate criminal cases, file motions, argue motions, take criminal cases to trial, represent the state in sentencing and probation violation hearings, and the remainder of the list. I think there's a common misconception from television that a criminal case ends when a suspect is arrested out on the street. That could not be further from the truth. Unless myself and the attorneys in my office file cases in court, work those cases through the legal system and obtain convictions, there is no accountability for the offender, there is no justice for the victim. This gives a sense of a quarterly breakdown of how many cases are referred to my office for prosecution. So last quarter, October through December of 17, we had 1,295 cases referred for prosecution. October and December are typically the quarter in which we see the lowest number of case referrals. Might have something to do with colder weather and the holidays, but we usually start seeing higher cases referred as the weather gets nicer, January, March, and into the summer. This slide shows how many new cases we filed. So out of the 1,295 cases referred, we filed 678 new cases. I currently have enough staff in my office, attorneys, and legal support staff to file all criminal cases that come in with legal merit. This graph shows the total caseload that we're carrying. As you can see, total right now, approximately we have 4,235 cases pending. A lot of those cases, the offender is out to warrant. So that means the case isn't active in the court, but the sheriff or one of his deputies could arrest that person on their warrant any day, any time, and boom, that case would be right back to active status. But currently, as you can see, we've got about 2,354 active cases. This pie chart shows the breakdown of how many cases were referred last quarter from the different law enforcement agencies operating here in the county. So GPPD refers the largest number of cases to my office, and second place would be the Oregon State Police, and third place is the Josephine County Sheriff's Office. Now, as the sheriff is able to put more deputies out on the road, his deputies are able to investigate more crimes, and I expect that the number of referrals from the sheriff's office is going to go up substantially. This slide just gives a general idea of how many of the common types of crimes that I think citizens associate with prosecution DUI assault. So you can see that in 2017, my office prosecuted 370 cases of DUI. We prosecuted 141 assault-related cases, 618 theft-related cases, and approximately 168 burglary, robbery, or stolen car-related cases. Obviously, this slide doesn't account for, I haven't given numbers on all the drugs cases, the sex crimes, and the other types of crimes that my office handles. Here's a stat on the total number of court appearances that myself or attorneys in my office made in the year 2017. We had to appear in court. We were told by the court to appear on a case 18,361 times. Every single one of those instances requires either myself or one of the attorneys in my office to be there. We cannot not show up. When the court says appear on a criminal case, an attorney must be present. Now, to put this in context, I can cover arraignments in courtroom 3 at 1 o'clock any day of the week and appear on 30 or more particular cases, or I could cover the status hearings at the courthouse on a Monday and appear on 50 cases there. But regardless of that, that number, 18,361, is still huge. Real briefly, this just shows the work that's being done by my Crime Victim Services Office. In calendar year 2017, we distributed over 1,500 victim information packets, and we went to court and requested almost $1.5 million in restitution on behalf of crime victims. My Crime Victim Services Office is constitutionally mandated, and we are able to almost entirely fund that office through grants. So I'm proud of that. Next few slides are just kind of touch on a few of the more high-profile cases that we resolved in calendar year 2017. We convicted Marshall McKenna of murder for being the ringleader. He was the third person to be convicted in a case where 3 guys came up from Texas and they murdered and robbed a marijuana dealer out at Lake Selmac. We convicted the Yandell brothers at Cave Junction for the robbery of the Banner Bank over here on Williams Highway in June of 2017. Convicted Aaron Ponchard of attempted murder for shooting another man in a Walmart parking lot in July of 2017. I'm being told to stop, so just a few more sentences. And we convicted Terry McManus of unlawful delivery of methamphetamine after our local drug team found 9 pounds of methamphetamine and about $50,000 in cash. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, Ryan. Very good report. Next up is our county assessor, Connie Roach. Connie?
Now, I know you are all just waiting with bated breath to hear about the assessor's office. It's the most exciting office in the county. But let me get to me. Okay, so, so our charge is to determine the values for taxable property in the county and to basically follow the law on everything. The assessor's office is a department that is mostly mandated services. It's always the assessor shall. There are very few instances where the assessor may, giving us discretion. So pretty much everything we do is dictated by the law. What we are doing is we are serving the taxing districts in the county, the school districts, the City of Grants Pass, the Cave Junction, the fire districts. What we do is, the result of what we do is that they get the funds they need to support their programs. And that's probably the main thing that we're doing. To do that, we have our staff. We actually have 15 FTE, and what that really means is we have 12 full-time staff and 5 part-time staff, separated into 2 parts. One is the appraisal staff that really works on the valuations of property. We have 3 residential appraisers, 1 commercial appraiser. We have a data analyst who studies sales to determine trends. And then we have a specialist that assists that group. And on the other side, we have our administration, which includes our cartographers, the mappers. Every time a developer comes in and subdivides a property, they have to redraw maps, and so that's an ongoing process all the time. We have a personal property clerk who does all the processing of those personal property returns, and we have one part-timer who goes through all the deeds to look for the safe transfers of property and get those into our system so that we're sending the bills to the right party. And then we have one full-time and two part-time front office staff who really are the gatekeepers that see the phone calls and walk-ins and give them answers to their questions or direct them to the person who can. With that, I'm just going to say that we have a lot of available information on our website as far as you can do a property search on the website. You can look up information about special assessments or exemptions. And we have a lot of statistical data that we try to keep current. We usually update it after every roll turn. And other than that, that's pretty much the overview of what we do, which is really in a way a groundhog year. We kind of go through the same cycle year after year after year, and that's us.
Thank you, Connie. Next up is the tax treasurer, Eve Arcee. Eve, come on up.
Good afternoon. The treasurer's office, the treasurer's office actually has two functions, an external and an internal. The internal function basically is, my department is the bank for all the departments in the county. Any fee collected out there in a department, they bring to us. We code it into our financial software, just like a bank would code your deposits into your accounts. Once we have those deposits, we then in turn create a deposit and put it in a commercial bank. The funds that are not immediately needed or are invested into a short-term market under the strict guidelines of my investment policy, with the safety, liquidity, and yield being a major force on this. Also, the Treasury processes the payments for the 14 districts that Connie assesses for. We have the education districts, the cities, our local fire districts, also the state fire patrol. We have to process for them. We collect money for ourselves and bank that money also. And we also have some special districts, the library district, a couple of water districts, and 4-H extension. Assessment certified $78,947.73.31 in October 6th. As of December 31st, we've collected 89.32% of our current year taxes. We've distributed $69 million, a little over, to all the districts we've collected for. Of that, Josephine County received a little over $3.8 million that will be going into the general fund for our services. A little over $900,000 went to the adult jail bond, which we will pay off in June, so that will not be on our tax bill next year. Sheriff and juvenile received a little over $6 million, and for the levy that was just passed. And then these figures are as of, like I said, as of December 31st, and we are 89.32% collected. And on average, by June 30th, we will be collected at 96.5% of our taxes. I do this with 4 full-time staff, including myself. We have, you can pay online, pay in person, mail it to us. Come in and see us, we don't mind. And the tax collection, we mail over 45,000 statements each year in November. We also process about 6,500 reminder postcards for people who just decide to pay their taxes using the third payment method instead of doing the full with a 3% discount. We do this with using a postcard so that I can process it online, saving money and creating a really necessary service for people remembering to pay their taxes later in the year. If taxes aren't paid on your real property for 4 years delinquent, you start getting into danger of foreclosure. In May of each year, I'll send a delinquent notice. By July 1st, I have to send a warning notice to these people who have still not paid. I send about 700 notices out for that. But by the time I get to mid-August, when I publish all of these accounts, I'm down to about 60. And within the next 2, by judgment date, it's usually down to about 40 or 50. And after the 2 years of redemption left, I usually have less than 5. This year, which actually will be the end of the 2015 foreclosure, I will be deeding 2 pieces of property to the county. One is a real mess that the sheriff gets to take care of. And the other is a little teeny tiny spit that cartography decided wasn't belonging to any piece next to it. In the tax office, we work really hard to make sure that we don't foreclose, because we do not want to take a piece of property if someone doesn't want to give it up. Thank you.
Okay, you got a timekeeper here and a timekeeper here. Introduce Sheriff Dave Daniels. He's the last of our elected officials. Take it away, Dave.
Thank you, Commissioner. For starters, thank you. Appreciate that. Better late than never, right? First, I'd like to throw a shout out to Commissioner Hare for getting this forum going. It creates transparency, creates more trust, and that's where we're going in Josephine County. So thank you very much, Commissioner, for the opportunity to be here. Josephine County Sheriff's Office. It's an uphill battle, but we're on the rise for sure. In 2012, that was really kind of D-Day, 3 years before I took office, or 3 years. So I want to say, on behalf of all of the Josephine County Sheriff's employees, down to every man and woman, thank you. Thank you very much for your support. If anybody in this room deserves a clap, it's you all, because we're on the rise. We're doing good things. We're moving forward, and we can't do it without your support and your partnerships in each office we have here. It's very much appreciated. So let's do a little bit of celebrating. Some real accomplishments, some things that are positive and good for Josephine County and its citizens. So we've cut the processing time in our civil division for obtaining concealed handgun license to under 4 weeks. Used to be 4 to 4.5, 5 months before you could receive your CHL back in the mail. We have a couple great employees that we've picked up since being elected that are working very hard for you. We've increased our service days. Mondays are brand new CHLs, you can go in and get them, and Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday you can do your renewals. There are a lot more renewals. We're very proud to be able to do that. We're now able to take calls 5 days a week. How great is that? I mean, stand up here and have to say that your Josephine County Sheriff's Office couldn't take your phone call was pretty sad. We've changed that. 5 days a week now. We have 2 records personnel from 8 to 5 p.m. that are in there answering your calls and helping you with your situations, typically non-emergent phone calls. We added a school resource deputy, funded from marijuana revenue monies that came from the state. That's still in the process of figuring out who that's going to be, but probably next school year is when you're going to see that individual in the Three Rivers School District educating our youth, primarily on marijuana issues, because that's where the money came from, working on mentoring, and if they need to, taking some type of a corrective action. 3 resident deputies. When I campaigned, it was not a promise, but it was a wish. It was something I wanted because I realized there was a little bit of a disconnect with our citizenry. Just being in a building and not having people out actually in the field working on some of the livability issues that are out there in Josephine County. These are things that historically we couldn't have done. We certainly couldn't have done in 2012 with a $7 million budget and with the passage of the levy and some allocation of funds, and with the assistance of the Board of County Commissioners, who put a great deal of trust and faith in their sheriff, we're going to make this happen and start working on some of the issues that we haven't been able to in the past. Purchasing in-car video cameras through partial grant funding. It's very important. Again, we want to be transparent. We want to show you what we're doing and how we're doing it. It would have been fantastic if our deputies would have had an in-car video camera in the case that DA Mulkins just cleared yesterday. But we don't have it, but we're getting it. And we're not doing it solely with taxpayer dollars. That's the goal. We're getting a body scanner for use in the jail. And I can tell you, you should be proud of the office. We're a pioneer in that. Normally the body scanners, which detect things that are internal within our inmates that they bring in or swallow or other, and get introduced into our jail, obviously very high liability, very high danger, and there are in-custody deaths that take place as a result of that happening. I can tell you, we started the process here in Josephine County, leveraging 10 other sheriffs in the state of Oregon to get body scanners at a greatly reduced rate. I was told by the vendor yesterday that because of the work that we and he has done, there are now thousands of sheriff's offices across the nation in every state getting these body scanners to increase in the likelihood of finding drugs and reducing liability. As a matter of fact, unfortunately, I'll just be honest with you, we found heroin in the jail today. And so we need that. I thought I'd just cap that off. Very soon we'll be housing more arrestees. I made a promise to you all, and I'm going to keep that promise, that we will go to 185. We will get there. It's a matter of hiring personnel, and I'll talk about that here in just a minute. But going from ground zero to where we need to be is a process. But we will keep that promise, and we will not quit until we get there. We started using a naloxone distribution program. What's already saved a life here. A 23-year-old man found unconscious, not breathing in a bathtub. And one introduction and some CPR from one of our deputies, to be specific, Sergeant Geiger, saved that young man's life, and he is now back with us today. I wanted to maybe go back real quick too, because I added a note that along with the 3 resident deputies, the Board of County Commissioners provided me $400,000 out of a public safety reserve fund, money just sitting there that your departments have been able to save over time and fund 4 more patrol deputies for just standard operating procedures of patrol. And that's going to be very beneficial. We did upgrade as well, actually, our jail camera system, which was antiquated and needed to be done. It was put in when the jail was built, basically back in about 2000. It didn't cover all the corners and the angles in the jail. And for inmate security and safety for the facility and the deputies that work in there, we wanted to replace that. We did. We did it with 0 taxpayer dollars. We did it with the inmate commissary fund. If an inmate wants to go out and buy a package of top ramen or something like that, those monies go into the fund, and it can only be used for safety and security of the facility. So it was a great savings for us all. We're on target to keep all the promises we made from the passes of the levy. And I promise you here that we will keep them. But again, it's a process. I can tell you that all the monies, as promised, has gone to the corrections division of the sheriff's office. And that's where it's supposed to go, and that's where it's, well, or juvenile, but that's where it's supposed to go, and that's where it is. We're preparing right now for our first financial audit, which is an external audit out of a firm out of Medford that's going to come in and assure our citizens that that's taking place. We will get to the 185 for sure, and as promised, I will have all arrestees brought into the Josephine County, or arrestees in Josephine County brought into our jail. I will tell you that that's a lot. That it is, last year in 2017, we did 5,075 bookings into the jail. So that's a pretty astronomical number when you're talking about every time a car pulls into Sallyport bringing people in, 5,000 plus times a year. But we're upping our staffing to handle that. And that's the first external audit. I will tell you, how much time do I have here? Anyway, let's keep going until somebody raises their hand. There we go, even though I'd like to know. We're doing all right. Let's see, we have taken over the animal care officers. It used to be called animal control officers, and I wanted to state that I changed the name, because really at the end of the day, that's what they're there for. They're for the care of the animals. And We hired a supervisor for that already. We've just finished hiring 2 more, so there'll be a total of 4 working in that division. I wanted them, and the commissioners wanted them more closely aligned with law enforcement. They wanted them more closely aligned as an avenue to reach out to the district attorney's office, who's done a fantastic job, I might add, at very professional prosecutions of the animals. It's obviously in our society, our community, animals are very, very important, and I know that your team is going to do a better job for you, I assure you. Kind of some of the 2017 calls for service that we've been that we handle. 337 handled by dispatch. Those are things that they can just take care of at the dispatch level. 423 were marijuana-related incidents. In December of 2016, I knew this marijuana was coming. I knew it was going to be a problem. So I started coding, having our deputies code different calls for service, what were marijuana and what weren't. And so obviously we have 423 additional calls that came in specifically for marijuana-related incidents. Total of 1,910 cases taken. That's the written case. That's where the deputy has to write that report, get it to the district attorney's office or other for assistance. 1,300 warrants issued, which is what we do as a sheriff's office. I tried to get a fee attached to that at the legislative level last year because it's a lot of processing. You bring the warrants in, you got to get them in the system, then you have to monitor them. When the person is arrested, you have to clear them. And that's all expense that comes out of taxpayers' pockets. I wanted it to come out of the arrestee's pocket. Didn't work. As many things do in the legislature. So 15,300 handled by patrol. That's the call the deputies would actually go out on. I will note at the very bottom there that civil paper service attempts were 3,278. That's one deputy that goes out and does that 365 days a year. And so that's obviously a great number. He's very, very busy, but very, very good, I will add. 655 restraining order attempts as well. So I want to go back a little real quick, and I'll make this part short because there's more important stuff, but this is why it's taken a while to get ramped up. And this is not uncommon for city police, Oregon State Police, or us. It's very competitive across the nation right now to find people. People historically haven't wanted to come to Josephine County because there wasn't any, as far as deputies are concerned, because there's really not much security, not much safety in their positions. So it goes through an application process first. We weed through them. Then there's a written and an agility testing we have to schedule for. There's a panel with an interview with several different members. On top of that, there's a sheriff's interview with myself, trying to make sure this person's good to fit our team. Personnel evaluation profile, a short test we have to ask them to take. Then there's a background investigation, and that can be, it can take a couple weeks to get a good background investigation done, if not more. Psychological evaluation, we have to send them to Portland and pay for a psychological evaluation to make sure that the guy or gal that we're giving a gun to is going to hopefully not use it, but if they need to, use it properly. A physical exam needs to take place. Then once they're hired, it's the other thing, and getting them going. Corrections Academy, 6 weeks. Patrol Academy, 16 weeks. Following that, they have to come back down, and then they go through a field training process. That's up to 3 to 4 months. So your deputies are well trained and can serve you the best they can in the most professional manner that they know how. Since the levy passed, we've hired 20 new employees. We're not there yet. We're getting there. And these are in training. Some are actually working in different positions. But 8 correctional deputies new on board. 5 patrol deputies that are all in training right now, many at the academy, 2 more going later this week and this month. 2 police support technicians, those are the receptions you actually get to speak to. 1 police support tech in civil, and we needed 1 administrative assistant. Current openings to be filled, so everybody, there's an application online. Come on, feel free to put your name in the hat. 9 corrections deputies. We have 4 applications in the process right now, and we're conducting our next process, which I think might be our 5th, very, very soon. 2 police support technicians in corrections. Those are booking clerks that we're going to have to utilize the increased number of individuals brought into the facility. And then 1 control room technician who's responsible for all the movement and safety and security within our jail. Our goal is to have it filled by June of 2018. That's when we want all the positions filled, and very shortly thereafter, if not there, you will begin seeing a drastic increase in the number of inmates within our facility. You can't really see this very well, and I apologize because the numbers are kind of small, but it does show some of the numbers of what type of people we have in our jail. And we currently have 10 murderers in our jail in little Mayberry, Josephine County. I'll be honest with you, per capita, that's more than anywhere else in the state, to my knowledge. That's not good. But you can also see that the drug-related offenses are a high population for us. That's probably pretty routine just about everywhere. We have the sex abuse and the rape at 7%, so that's a pretty high number. Keep in mind, these numbers are all basically pre-trial, or those that have been sentenced to under a year in jail. We'll keep them ourselves and not keep them out of the Department of Corrections. So, I'll end it with that. I think I'm pretty close to the time. Well, that's the 1 minute sign. Good. We did all right. Again, on behalf of all of our deputies, all of our employees, thank you so much for your support. We're working at a very hard pace to try and find a funding source for Josephine County and public safety that is palatable for all of you and works for us. But I can guarantee you one thing for sure. There is no question about it. We will not stop, and we will not go away. Your sheriff's office is dedicated to serving you the best we can, and we're going to continue to do so.
Thank you very much, Sheriff. Thank you. That's, I like the, let's celebrate. You bet. I got it. I want to remind everybody that, some of the charts and stuff that are up here are a little hard to read, but we will have those online directly following this presentation. Right, we're going to shift the gears from elected officials into our internal services. Our first man up is JJ Schofield. JJ?
Thank you, everyone. My name is JJ Schofield. I'm the HR Director for Josephine County. Your first question may be, what does Human Resources do? In a nutshell, we do all things staff related. That includes recruitment, labor relations. Labor relations is overseeing our union contracts and our union employees. Benefit administration, which is overseeing our health care benefits for our employees. And we make sure that the county stays in compliance with the ever-changing state and federal employment laws. We also oversee risk management for the county. That is managing all the various lines of liability insurance, including property, personal liability, vehicle, and workers' compensation coverage. And we work with all of our departments to reduce the liability and reduce our risk. The best example I can give you of working with those departments is under workers' compensation. Now, anyone who has managed and run a business understands that successful management of workers' compensation is a crucial part of making sure that you hit your fiscal goals. One or two expensive claims can drastically impede your ability to be fiscally successful. So this chart shows that in fiscal year 15-16, the county had an average cost per claim of $27,780. That's a pretty high number. So we worked very hard with all of our department safety committees to make the county a safer place to work, improve our processes, and the end result is that so far this fiscal year, we're at just over $5,000, so that's a great reduction. Our biggest project we've had so far this year, as spoken to by the sheriff, is recruitment. Luckily, the citizens of Josephine County elected to pass a jail levy, and we've had to hire quite a few folks as a result of that. In the calendar year of 2016, Human Resources processed 857 applications. And that sounds like a big number. However, in the last 6 months, we processed 2,207 applications. That's 5 times more applications per month. Now, until recently, our protocol for how we process applications was pretty old school, paper applications with lots of spreadsheets. Here's a picture of one of my employees looking at a resume. You can see that they're skilled in both hunting and eating meat, so that's helpful. Had we elected to stay in our old school methodology, there's no way we could have met the needs of the citizens of Josephine County. So what we did is we chose to purchase an applicant tracking software called NeoGov, and that allowed us to move from a paper application process to a fully online application. It allowed us to automate much of our postings, and it gave us access to great analytics that allowed us to be more effective and efficient with how we post and market each of our positions. In summation, the big picture goal of Human Resources is to reduce the general operating costs of government and business in general, thereby putting more money into the hands of the department. It increases and maximizes the return of taxpayer investments, and puts that money with the departments where it belongs. I live in Josephine County. My kids go to school here. I've been involved in lots of community programs. And as such, I've been very proud to have the opportunity to partner and work with all of our departments and help them to make the county a better place to live and work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, JJ. Next up is our IT manager, John McCafferty. John?
Hey folks, thanks for coming. I'm John. I'm a team of 6 IT personnel at the county. It's a pretty small team, but it's a very good team. We average over 10 years of service with the county, which is kind of unheard of in the IT world. The reason we're able to manage 600 PCs, phones, printers, is because we're able to retain those skills. It costs up to 50% of the first year's salary for an IT person to actually get them in and train them. And this is not exactly an area that's overabundant in IT personnel. So keeping our people is one of the biggest challenges we've had, and we're really glad that we've met it. They told me to say that. So where are we going? What challenges do we have? Where do we need to get to? One thing is our web presence. It's functional. You can get download forms. You can get information. You can find out what's on the agenda, but it's not the most modern website. It's about 55% of taxpayers that access our website use a portable device. We need to get a new website that accommodates that so that people can get their information on the device that they choose to use in the field. We are very proud of our geographic information services. If you haven't done so, I'd suggest that you get onto our website and see what we've got. We've got 25 mapping applications that look at things like the assessor's ownership data. You can find out who owns the property, how much the assessor says it's worth. You can see what planning has for zoning. You can look at your personal map for your property. We also have a new community crime map as well, pictured up there. It'll show where car thefts are relative to your house, and that's kind of a good thing to know. The most popular planning app we have is the planning app. Over 140 people a day use it. When it's down, the realtors call us and they say, hey, what's going on? Our data center is old. We're currently going through the process of an overhaul. We don't add people. We try not to add people, but we do need to add technology, and that's something that we're working pretty hard on this year. This is the stuff we're involved in. We did an overhaul of the phone system. We had a really old PBX copper system. It was from 1987. We replaced it about 18 months ago. Really happy with the results. We're on YouTube. It was actually it was on our radar to go with the weekly meetings on YouTube, but we had a couple citizens that pushed the idea. And about a year and a half ago, we went to YouTube. Better quality. It's more accessible to people. More readily available. It's a pretty good addition to transparency. We help support time clocks, kind of a small thing, but it really changes the way personnel treat their job, I think. We brought fiber internet to parks, forestry, and the fairgrounds. We're working on now getting internet to most of the buildings in the fairgrounds. So we just added internet to this building this week. We've implemented internet safety programs that educate staff on the dangers of responding to phishing, and we now do a short orientation for all employees so that they have some skills on using the computer in a safe environment. But we take our marching orders from the departments. What you're going to hear today is what we're interested in as well, because we're the ones that help them make that happen. With the recent opening of the juvenile center and the sheriff getting more people out in the field, that's a heavier lift for us, but that's what makes it work. That's what we take pride in. So our goals, what do we want to do? We want to stay small, frankly. We want to stay the size we are. Those 6 people, we want to keep them. We want to use technology instead of growing people-wise to fit the needs of the departments. We are investing in cost-effective technology. Believe it or not, small computers that we buy are 1/8 the power consumers of our old towers. So that adds up. We want to increase resiliency. We want to put it to the test. Our data center's been so iffy that it's hard to test what would happen in a Cascadia event or a major power outage. Those are things we want to put to the test. We need to do that. We want to increase mobility. We think it's a big deal. You guys use mobile phones. Our staff uses mobile devices. We need to support sheriff's deputies in the field. We need to support assessor staff in the field. So that's a big goal for us, and hopefully next year we'll be able to tell you that we're moving along in that regard. I really appreciate your time. Thanks.
Whatever he just said, I'm not, I need John because he's the IT guy and kind of a guy that tells me what he just said. So next up, the guy that's one of my favorite people, finance, Arthur O'Hare.
Thank you. My name is Arthur O'Hare, Finance Director. I've been with the county about 14 years, first as the Chief Accountant Controller, and then the last 4 years as the Finance Director. So we have 6 folks in the finance office, and what we are responsible for is the oversight and management control of the financial policies of the county. So we do accounts payable, that is, that we pay all the bills for the county. We make sure that the documentation supports the fact that this bill is a legitimate business expense for the county. We process probably a little over 6,800 checks. We cut a little over 6,800 checks last year for paying bills. Payroll, we process about a little over 300 payroll transactions every few weeks. Most of those are direct deposits. We processed 428 W-2s this last year, meaning we had 428 unique individuals, some more unique than others, that passed through the county. We also process the budget. We oversee the compilation, processing, and monitoring of the budgets. Now, with the governmental entity, a budget is more than just a financial plan. It's actually a legal document that restricts how much money you can spend and on what things you can spend that money on. So each department is responsible for maintaining and staying within those guidelines. We also do an annual report, which is also a legal requirement that has the annual audit that the folks come in and make sure we're doing it the right way. In fact, to make sure we're doing it the right way, we submit our financial statements and our budgets to National Organization, the Government Finance Officers Association, which is an exciting group to be a part of. I'm sure you appreciate that. They look at the budget, make comments on how well we presented it, how we organized it, what information it contains. They look at our financial statements for the same thing. They give us suggestions and recommendations. We implement the ones we can and make promises on the ones we can't. So one thing we're really proud of is Moody's, Standard & Poor's has increased our bond rating this last year. In February of 2017, we went from an A2 up to an A1. We also had removed the negative outlook that Moody's had put on us and Standard & Poor's had put on the county back in 2012 when we had that a real reduction in our staffing. What they said was they noted that positive movement based on the Board of Commissioners' financial policies, most notable being our improving fund balance, sufficient cash balance, and dramatically improving our pension debt to revenue metric. So in a nutshell, the fact that we're not spending our reserves has improved our bond rating. So where are we going with this? I've got just a whole lot of policies and procedures that I need to work on, implementing many of the best practices, including minimum fund balances, biennial budgeting, long-term financial planning. And folks, the fact that we can even say long-term financial planning and biennial budgets is a real testament to how far the county has come in establishing financial stability and being able to look forward into the future. E-government. I want to give citizens access to our financial information over the web so they can do ad hoc reporting, or I think that's a great step forward in transparency and open government. Also a citizen's guide. to provide a more readable and user-friendly version of our budget. It won't be legal requirements, but it will help citizens to understand where their money is being spent. That's it.
That picture was taken with an old Brownie Instamatic when he was born, so. And it's with great pleasure that I introduce Nate Gallurant from Community Corrections. We're going to, bottom half of this is going to be presentations from people that work every day. We've heard from a lot of people that are in the courthouse. Now we're going to hear from the people that are in the trenches. So, Nate, kick it off.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Nate Gallurant, the Director of Josephine County Community Corrections. This is our staff right here. They make my job very, very easy. They're very good at what they do. They supervise about 1,000 folks that are within the community for felonies, many different cases that happen to go through the DA's office, and the sheriff gets them rounded up. You might wonder where they go. Well, they go to prison, they go to courts, they get processed, they get adjudicated, and then they wind up in our office, and many of them are broken. They don't have a whole lot of skills, they have lots of addiction issues, and we are charged with fixing them so they don't commit any more felonies within your community here. So we have drugs, we got property crimes, we got violent crimes, we got sex offenders, we have domestic violence issues, we have burglaries, robberies, thefts, and the list goes on. So that is a very hard charge that all of our folks at Community Corrections work towards, making sure that those folks don't commit any more crimes. And it's a very hard thing to do, as you can probably imagine. Some goals that we had for 2017, we kind of wanted to know where exactly we were. So we had some auditing take place. We shored up some problem areas that we identified, and we charged forward. So one of the things that's imperative now is data-driven decision-making. So a lot of the things that we do, we can't just have a gut feeling and then implement these different programs that we might think work. We are state funded through Senate Bill 267. We had a mandate basically saying if you receive state funds, you got to do programs that actually work. What a concept, right? We're spending a whole bunch of money, and if we don't show that they actually work, well, then we're not going to get funded. So that's one of the things that we want to make sure that we're doing, is that any money that the citizens are forking out, we want to make sure that we're putting it to good use, and that's what we do through data-driven decision-making. We have an increased workload demand. As I said in the presentation earlier, we have over 1,000 people. We have less than 40 full-time positions to supervise over 1,000 high-risk folks that come through Community Corrections. They're not all high risk. We have some risk assessment tools that we use. In fact, about a third of them are high risk, a third of them are medium risk, and a third of them are low risk, if you want to know some of those details. But I only have 5 minutes, but I'll get into that in another presentation. We have housing and employment skills that we're falling short on with the folks that we supervise. As you can imagine, alcohol and drugs are issues that we contest with heroin and methamphetamine pills and so on and so forth. I mentioned earlier in the presentation that we have data-driven decision making. This is one of the things that we're working on right now. We're seeing a rise in our female nonviolent prison usage. Over the course of just a few years, we had an increase, we had a plummet, and now we have an exponential increase, and that's a growing concern of ours. We know what works, and we're trying to do those things for the male population. For the female population, we're seeing a rise in female prison usage for nonviolent offenders. And so what we're wanting to do is mimic what we're doing with the males. Same with the females. Transitional housing is an issue. It's a huge issue that we don't really have that right now for the female population. We don't have secure treatment that we have for the male population, and we know those things work, and we just want to get some funding so we can implement some of those things. The strategic plan that we have for 2018 It's people, performance, and resources. From 2017, we got some really good news from Justice Reinvestment Funds. We got actually double from last biennium. We were able to use those funds for good use. We're graduating 3 different people in the academy tomorrow. Actually, I'm going up to Salem to watch them graduate, so we're very happy about that. And then we're going to get boots on the ground and get to work. I have a strategic plan in detail over there for some handouts. I also have my quarterly report from the last quarter that's available for handout. Again, lots of other details that I'd like to cover, but I'm out of time. So with that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Neon.
Just a side note, we were lucky enough to steal an egg from Jackson County. 1 in a row. Up next is Juvenile Justice, Brad Kane. Brad?
Good evening, folks. Golden years, I've got my glasses on. So I'm Brad Kane, I'm the Deputy Director of the Josephine County Juvenile Department. And I'd like to do a little different here. I'd like to start with our mission statement, and it's contributing to a safer community by promoting successful youth. So obviously, holding youth accountable is very key in the first part of that. But how do you promote successful youth? And the schools do it by education. And there's, like Director Gowan just said, evidence-based practices that are proven to work. It's proven if you throw a locked kid up and throw away the key, that just is not effective when he comes out, because then he graduates to the adult system. And that's not effective at all. So we are working on educating the youth that come in, teach them how to use pro-social behaviors, and just educate them on how to live their life successfully. So this Juvenile Justice Center, upstairs is the family courts, do a lot of all the restraining orders, divorces, custody battles up there. Downstairs is our court and field services. We have 4.5 probation officers right now. We, unlike the adult corrections, we take the youth generally, unless they're heavy felonies going to trial. We take them through the court process ourselves. So that's one probation officer does all the court activities. When they come in, we also do a risk and needs assessment of the youth and the family, because we deal with the families a lot as well. It's very important to tailor that to the needs of the individual. And then, you know, there's several ways we can go with that. They go to the Oregon Youth Authority if it's a heinous crime. First time theft threes or MIPs, things like that, we can often offer a formal accountability agreement, which keeps it out of jail, saves more time, and we can handle it at a lower level. And then if they're on probation, then we have 2 field probation officers that go into the schools, go into the community, hook up the families with family counseling, mental health services, drug and alcohol services. And we just for the first time were able to put on a new drug and alcohol probation officer, which was a population that was falling through the cracks. And so now we provide in-house assessments, in-house groups, and individual counseling through the juvenile department. So that's important, but the real exciting part for us is due to the levy passage in May, we were able to open our detention and residential treatment center again that closed in 2012. It opened in 1999, ran great for 13 years, but due to fiscal situations, it closed. So in May, since May, we immediately got on and got the facility back up, more state-of-the-art electronics. We're doing it right. We have had to hire 22 individuals that have an aggregate bachelor's degree, so that's been very difficult. In Josephine County, we've got a great young staff, and some of the older folks who were there in 2012, so that's a real good meshing of new and the old, and we're real excited about that. And we'll be able to house 12 youth in our residential treatment center. They're high-risk youth we're licensing with OIA, Oregon Youth Authority, with DHS. We're contracting as well as our local youth. So that's going to be a real positive shot in the arm for the community. We're real excited to get that open. Our detention center also has opened. It opened 3 weeks ago. We've already running a lot of kids through there. Grants Pass Police Department is bringing every youth that they pick up into our facility, whether it's minor or criminal activity. And so we're able to assess, do a risk and needs assessment with the youth, the family, and be able to provide the appropriate services to the entire family. You can't fix a kid and throw them back in a broken family. That doesn't work. And youth are our future, and kids rock. So thank you, Josephine County.
Thank you, Brad. Always exciting to see that juvenile program get back up and running. Community Development Director, Julie Smeltzer. Julie?
Okay, as you know, I'm Julie Schmelzer. What we do in our department is it's a combination. We have a planning division, a building safety division, a code enforcement division, and an economic development division. It was about a year ago that the county, a little over a year ago, the county decided to combine these into one department. So we're relatively a new department. By working together, we've been able to drastically improve customer service. We feel that we've done a really good job in trying to get everybody to think big picture instead of just thinking about their own department. We've tried to make all of our records go electronic so people have easier access to documents. We're opening a SmartGov app, which should be effective, we're hoping April 1st, where people can actually apply for products online, applications online, then track those applications so people don't have to wait in those long lines at the customer service desk when you do come to the community development department. We're updating our handouts, we're streamlining processes, especially some of them that involve DEQ, some things that perhaps people needed a permit for in the past, no longer need a permit for. We're introducing some other agencies to possibly looking at them coming in to help provide information to people when they are in the department. For example, perhaps on the Water Conservation Department can provide information to people when they come to the office to inquire about permits or other matters. And we've been having team meetings to discuss problems or ways that we can continue to improve efficiencies and customer service in the department. So it's really worked well to have those 4 divisions all sitting together, working together to make it programs more efficient and better service to you and the public. So in building safety, that's the division that enforces the state's building and safety laws. And they've been doing really good. They're a self-funded department. They have, this past year, they had 2,630 permits. So they've done more than they did last year. Fees, they've collected almost double the fees that they did. Their inspections are up, their plans are reviewed, they're really at a busy time right now, and that's a good thing for us because that means more and more homes and buildings are being inspected for those health and safety matters, which means people are in a safer position than they were a year ago. Planning, we have to rely on the general fund, so we rely on the permit fees that come in and the taxes. Our average annual revenue is about $339,000, so it's not very high. We don't collect very much with those permit fees. We do process a lot of paperwork though. We had 2,654 applications just in 1 year. We dealt with almost 12,000 people at the front counter, so we have a lot of foot traffic. Having that SmartGov system ideally come online on April 1st will help with that because hopefully, like I said, we can reduce that number and have most of that going through an electronic system. The past year, we had 94 new single-family homes coming to Josephine County in the unincorporated areas. That's really important to us as we have a housing shortage going on right now. So that helps us reach that goal of trying to address the housing problems. We had 52 new commercial buildings. So the planning projects, that big ones that happened in 2017 was one, the county had declared an emergency housing declaration, saying that we definitely have a problem here. We need to do something to address the affordability, the availability, and the access, the adequacy of the housing stock that we have. So that passed in 2017. So by passing that emergency housing declaration, it affects the work that we have coming up this coming year in 2018. Of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that marijuana was a big part of our 2017 planning program. It pretty much consumed, I think, 75% of our time. It was quite good. Planning projects, we have housing tax amendments and initiatives coming up to address that housing shortage. We're doing some work in the Merlin area, especially working with the business community out there to see if we can create a vision for them and what they want in their community. Working with the community of Williams on a trail. Working with Kid Junction, hopefully on increasing some of the lodging opportunities out there. And we are working with the state to create more agritourism opportunities. From the code enforcement end of our department, we have 774 formal complaints where people actually filed complaints. That is up drastically. I think last year we had, or the very first year when I got here, I think we had about 75 complaints. Informal complaints related specifically to marijuana in a 6-month period, we had over 1,000. We have 144 reported compounds that were just reported in 2017. And we have, in 2018, looking ahead here, we're going to be looking at partnering with the Public Health Department to address garbage. Economic development, we're working with the city on an economic development collaborative. We work great with our state, Business Oregon, and with our regional partner, SREDI. Over here, I'd like you to just take a look at some of the businesses that have been profiled through SREDI. We're working at creating more industrial sites, working at, with the airports to get a fire suppression system at the Illinois Valley Airport so we can increase some industrial sites in that area and create more jobs out there. And hopefully looking at a road extension through the North Valley Industrial Park to create more industrial sites there and then be able to create more jobs up in that area of the county as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julie. Next up is airports, Larry Graves, our airport manager. Larry?
Thank you all for being here. I think I have the best job of all the directors in the county. I get to spend all of my time at the airports. I love airplanes, I love flying, I love everything about them. I have a great time. No stress at all. Nobody cares about airports. I've heard that from time to time. Guess where this picture was taken, folks? That's the old Long Ridge Airport in Grants Pass in 1919, and the Army Air Corps brought a couple of trainers through on their way to Portland and on their way back, and look at the turnout. Yeah, it was amazing. So it's good to know where we come from so that we can really have a good focus on where we're going. This is what that Long Ridge Heights Airport looked like around 1940. There's Highway 99 running along the bottom, and over on the left side of the corner you can see the Beacon gas station, which is still here today, up there near Morgan and Vine, okay? So that's where that airport was located. Currently, the Grants Pass Airport, just east of Merlin, looks like this if you were to fly over it from about 3,000 feet up in the air. And, we have a 4,000-foot long runway. We've got over 100 hangars. 50 of those hangars the county owns, and the other half are owned by private individuals. There are about 215 or 20 based aircraft, permanently based aircraft at the Grants Pass Airport, and about 30 at the Illinois Valley Airport. It is incredibly busy out there. We have a lot of business activity, local companies who use aircraft as tools to get around and have meetings, make purchases of real estate, etc. Dutch Bros virtually runs a small airline out there. They have 3 Cessna 441s. You can put 10 people in each one, and they fly to Scottsdale and Kalispell, Montana, and Spokane, and they go do deals. They celebrate grand openings. They buy little quarters of parking lots and put up their kiosks, and they have expanded their number of coffee kiosks in the western United States by more than double in the past 2 years since they started using aircraft to fly around and do more deals. Pacific Aviation Northwest, they provide all the work for fixing airplanes, keeping the engines healthy, repairing airframes, etc., inspections. And one of the most exciting developments that we've had recently, pardon me, it's a great time for an allergy attack. We started doing a summer camp for junior high kids a couple of years ago. And we brought these kids in, 25 of them the first year. We didn't charge them anything, and we put them through an aviation camp all day long for 5 days, and they all got to go flying on Friday. That has grown into the Southern Oregon Air Academy, which we're negotiating with this newly formed 501c3 nonprofit. They hopefully will be located at the old Scholastic facility, which is on airport property out there on the Grants Pass Airport, and will be offering youth education, career technical education, to get kids at the junior high and high school level really interested in following through and having a career in aviation. We've been working with Rogue Community College, with the Southern Oregon Educational Services District, and it's been wildly successful. Hopefully, keep this date in your calendars. March 15th, we're going to have a big event out at the airport where Alaska Airlines will be coming down to address over 1,000 high school and kids and their parents to talk about their pilot development initiative, and we're part of that program with them. So it's going to be pretty exciting. We'll get to you very quickly. So where are we going? People say, are we going to have scheduled service? Am I going to be able to get on an airliner and go fly somewhere? And I said, no, I don't think that's ever going to happen here. Medford does that for us, and the FAA isn't interested in having a competing, airline 20 minutes or 30 minutes away. But what I'm interested in doing is obtaining capital grants from the Federal Aviation Administration, from the Oregon Department of Aviation, so that we can create a business-friendly environment at the airport where companies will come in that fly airplanes as tools to further their business. And it's really exciting. I mean, we have, a new parallel taxiway. You can see all the things that we've brought in. In the last 2 years, we have landed about $6.5 million worth of capital projects. And that work is being done at the Illinois Valley Airport, at the Grants Pass Airport. And the big challenge for me and for the other 2 people who comprise our entire department to run 2 airports is finding the matching grant money. We have to come up with 10%, 15%, 20% of a grant in order to qualify for that grant and bring it in. So we don't take any money from the general fund. We're an enterprise fund, and every dollar that we spend on capital grants, we bring in 96 bucks. It's a really good investment. So thank you for your time.
By the way, Larry came to us from Jackson County also, Asheville Airport, another score for Josephine County. Up next is Public Health, Michael Weber. Michael?
Hi, I'm Michael Weber. Oh, actually, no. This is Michael Weber. In a great feat of irony, he's lost his voice due to an illness last week, so I am his impromptu speaker. So you can look at him and listen to me pretend he's speaking. It won't be as eloquent with me instead of him, but that's all right. So public health is the most complex department in the entire county. Now, some of the other departments, maybe myself, would disagree with that, but we're all wrong. Public health is the most complex. They have a tremendously diverse program. So I'm going to talk about 4 specifics within that program. Environmental health. Where's the little... Thank you. All right. Hey. Environmental health, clinical services, parent and child health, and the animal shelter. That doesn't include emergency preparedness. It also doesn't include vital records. So there's lots of stuff that they do we just don't have time to talk about today. So to start with environmental health, this agency really goes out and helps maintain the health and well-being of all JOCO residents by working with local businesses and organizations to ensure the health standards are met. They've gone to 609 restaurants, 74 pools, 20 schools. And the biggest thing that I can say about environmental health, they're not just regulatory. They don't just say, you messed up, you need to fix it. They work with those agencies to get them up to code. And I think that's a real important thing. It's easy just to tell people, you messed up, we're going to shut you down. It's a lot harder to say, you messed up, let's work together to get you to where you're in compliance. Clinical services, so this JOCO provides clinical services to the residents of our county by working with all the local healthcare partners to monitor the infectious disease outbreaks. Additionally, they provide exams, treatment, and guidance to our women's health, STDs, and family planning clinics. The big part about clinical services is they provide services to a population that often has nowhere else to go. So they provide a real vital function to a demographic that has challenges receiving healthcare services. So they've had 2,500 immunizations. That's a big deal. 1,000 exams to individuals. These are people that really have no other avenue, and this is a great resource to an at-risk populace. Parent and child health. So this is Healthy Start, which provides services to reduce infant mortality, and they've had 391 various clients throughout the year. Babies First and Cocoon program, which provides services to increase the outcomes with at-risk youth and children. And they've had, again, 395 clients. And then the Women, Infant, and Children program, WIC, has had 3,894 clients. And what's interesting about that, these are folks that need help with nutrition and guidance in that avenue. It's about 4,000 clients, but it's 34,000 individual visits. So those folks come in, they receive training and education and nutrition and health. And often, these people come in and public health is a resource to help them get other kinds of resources when it comes to health services. So they're a tremendous vital asset. That has led to $1.4 million of supplemental nutrition for those clients. So that's a pretty big deal. The animal shelter, tremendous organization. We could talk for an hour just on the animal shelter. So here's some list of animals. Over 1,000 cats, 700 dogs, 9 rabbits, 3 goats, 3 rats, 2 pigs, 2 birds, a ferret, and most importantly, 1 llama. For me, a very exciting thing that the animal shelter has been able to do in the last 2 years, they have been able to avoid euthanizing any animals that have come in healthy and are adoptable. Now, some animals come in and they're not healthy, they have to euthanize them. But it is a mixture, those tremendous results are a mixture of the animal shelter coordinator who runs the animal shelter, Lauren Mills, her staff, and a tremendous host of volunteers. So they did tremendous work out there. There's some plans for the future. I have a minute left. Really, we want to work to diversify how we administer public health. We want to partner with some public agencies, partner with community development to find new and innovative ways to service the community, especially the populaces that are at risk. Thanks so much.
The silent one, but boy, he carries a big stick, I'll promise you that. Coming up next, Fairgrounds, one of my favorite subjects here. Peggy Anderson, our fair manager.
Thank you very much. One thing about it is this Fairgrounds has changed in the last few years, and I think that all of you have seen that. And it's gone under a complete redo in the last few years, and I've got to figure out how to use this exactly. The right side, okay. In 2016, we ended up deciding that we needed to rebrand things as we move forward. As you go back in 2013, the Fairgrounds was truly about ready to close. You had to look around, the buildings were dilapidated, things were not happening out here, the money was not being reinvested back into the grounds, and they were on a very, very slim skeletal staff. The county went ahead and hired a banker, and as you all know who Mary Groves is, she has taken this from 2013 until I came on in right about 2015. She and her team have moved forward with a lot of different things that needed to be happening. What they did was they looked at all the buildings and they thought, now which ones do we not need to move forward with that actually could be income producing? And so what they did is they started with several buildings. But in 2016, moving just a little bit ahead, here's what the commercial building looked like. As you see on the left, when they took everything off the false front, as they moved forward, the whole building was sagging and falling apart. So we literally had to take a look at that and find some ways to make it more efficient. One way was to put the new gas lines into the building through a vista. They installed some heaters. We had no heat in there. We still have no air conditioning in there, but we did have no heat. And with having the heat in there, we were able to pull in the Grants Pass Growers Market in the wintertime. And that was just huge because they're out here every week from November through March, the middle of March. And they have their growers market right here on the fairgrounds. We put in the new south side, and then they received grant monies, which we have relied on grant monies. We also get no general fund dollars. We're totally having to be self-sufficient as we've moved forward, and we're in the black today, and we plan on staying there. The Arts and Crafts building is one of the first ones that they took on. On the left, the Arts and Crafts, we had to come in with new countertops. They had to paint the kitchens, install ADA restrooms. We didn't have anything with ADA restrooms. Updated the cabinets, and then Friends of the Fair ended up partnering with us, and now we have bingo in that building 2 times a week on Wednesdays and on Sundays. And actually that venture has gained us, a few weeks ago they told us that they'd like to give us $10,000 that they've made that we can help put in, so we can start putting in a security system, because we do not have one of those here. In this building that you're in right now, if you were in this building 2 years ago, these walls would have not been painted. They were all cinder block. The ceiling has been redone, the lighting's been redone, the kitchen has been redone, the countertops have been redone, and the tables that you're sitting at, these tables are what are used by every week by called Rascals, which is a senior computer group, and they're here every Tuesday morning. We serve approximately 200,000 people a year, and a lot of people do not understand that. We are busy out here, and there is a lot of events going on. Just in this past year, we supported 980 public events on these grounds and 407 private events right here on the fairgrounds, which is about 1,300 events that we have here on the fairgrounds. So that's quite a few. And if the team wouldn't have started that in 2012 and 2013, we would have never had these buildings rentable the way that they are today. We want to keep these buildings rentable at a reasonable rate so you all can afford to rent your buildings. Economic impact, we were told that for every person that comes on the fairgrounds, it's approximately $25 a head. If you do the math with about 200,000 people, even if 100,000 of them are from outside the area, that's about $2.5 million that we bring into the community here just by having events at the fairgrounds. We have a bunch of new partners, Love Abounds for the inside, for the track. Grants Pass Toyota, if you noticed, a couple years ago, we started with a new electronic message board. We never thought about the message board being an income producing stream. It came in December, and by about April, we got about $13,000 worth of income off of it. We hadn't planned on that. They're telling me to stop. Grants Love Abounds. Then just recently with Rotary, we've been awarded the Rotary grant for this year in October, and then for the next couple of years, and that grant could look up to about $200,000. Fairgrounds decided that they were going to go ahead and make it so the indoor arena was something that we really needed to play upon and fix with the roof that's falling apart. And if you've seen that building, you see that you know that it needs to be fixed. Anyway, thank you. Have a fun department, but truly thank you to all the managers and the commissioners. I got to tell you, we all work together. We all don't have enough staff, we don't have enough money, but I'll tell you what, this is a good team to be part of. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. Great presentation. Now we get into amateur hour. Lisa Pickard, our director for the Veterans Affairs, she is out of the area for today, so I'm going to try to muddle through what I've never seen her. I have never seen her presentation, but I am a veteran, so I think I can speak freely about the veterans. I just want to kind of throw out some statistics here, and oops, I only have one slide. This is great. Mr. Brandon? Anyway, I want to throw out a couple of the importance of the veterans, VSOs, veteran service officers, here in the basement of the courthouse. I just want to throw out a couple figures to you because this came to a real complete shock to me. If I told you there was an institution in Josephine County that brought in right around $58 million worth of outside money into Josephine County every year. What would you say? How big a building do they need? How many square feet? Do they need a place at the airport? But you know, I can tell you what that is. It's the Veterans Administration, the Veterans Office in the basement of the courthouse, about 700 square feet down there. Brought in $61 million, I think, last year. And that was in 2016. In comp and pen, that's compensation and pensions to veterans, disabled veterans, and retired veterans, that's in Josephine County. When you add in their medical benefits, there are also their educational benefits, that number jumps to $97 million into Josephine County. That's huge. As a veteran, I have been very lucky, you know, fortunate to need it, but I've needed it, and the Veterans Association, Veterans Administration has been there for me. I'll give you one quick, just my own personal experience. I had to go to Portland. I had open heart surgery at the Veterans Hospital in Portland a few years back. I had to follow up. People, a lot of complaints about the veterans, and gee, they take me forever to get through the system. I got out of my car at 7 a.m. in the parking garage. I had 3 procedures that I needed to have done that morning. First one was a 7, drawing blood. Second was a complete chest x-ray system and written evaluation. And the third one was an EKG. I was on time for my appointment at 7 a.m. and at 7:26, I was pushing the elevator button to get back down to the parking garage. Try that. Try that anywhere else in America. But one thing that was very humbling to me when I did go to that Veterans Hospital, I walked in and I looked around and almost walked back out because there's a lot of people need that more than I do. So hats off to Lisa, fine director of Veterans. When she gets back, say hi to her. I appreciate it. Next up, Public Works, the grant.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thanks to everyone for taking the time to show up. This is an extremely important function. I thought I'd start off with a slide that's about exactly a year old. Last year we had a bit of a rough winter, as you may recall. This is the Sand Creek Bridge. Following a blowout downstream, that's what happens when the channel chases down about 8 feet. We'll be replacing that this coming year, and I'll talk about that a bit later. Luckily, this winter is kind of cost averaging us down a ways. So here's a quick sense of just the programs we have under. It's kind of a broad portfolio. Public Works Operating Fund, that's our road and bridge fund that I'll spend the bulk of my time talking about. We also have a solid waste fund we manage, which is effectively 2 decommissioned landfills, Marlson and Kirby. The County Bridge Construction Fund is a capital reserve program that we use to fund bridge reconstructions. The North Valley Industrial Park, the county maintains a small sewer system over there. And then the last 2, the county fleet, we have that co-located with the Public Works fleet. And the county transit's co-located on our site as well. I love that one because every person Scott gets on a bus is one less car tearing up the roads. So I'm really excited this year. This chart kind of reflects what we've got coming ahead. The Oregon legislature in 2017 passed House Bill 2017, which increased the gas tax, vehicle registration and titling, these kinds of things. This was a broadly supported measure, and quite frankly, it was generational. I've been here for 22 years. I think I've been here about a generation, and I can tell you this is a game changer for us. The state of Oregon has always been very proactive in funding the road and bridge system, and this was no exception. For the last, for my tenure, at least for the 12 years as director, it's really been a hunker down mode. So we're always doing the things we need to do, replacing stop signs, restriping, vegetation removal, those kinds of things. And I kind of feel bad for Commissioner Harry, who was my liaison for the first 6 years. Like, yeah, we're holding on. Now we've got money, we've changed liaisons. But honestly, this is kind of a game changer. As you can see from this chart, our FTEs have been fairly static. This coming year ahead, we're looking at adding back 8 of those operations positions. Those are road workers on the ground, and also getting 2 engineering positions added back in to assist with additional inspections we're not getting to, preemptive design on bigger projects, helping contractors walk in the front door, getting land development going. This gives you a little better idea of just how big of a deal that measure was. The blue bar at the bottom there is our historical gas tax. And you can also see the purple bar, which is effectively, that's the ONC. We get that, as did the general fund. A lot of folks don't know that. And back in the salad days, we got about $2 million a year. That's effectively disappeared. And in the meantime, there wasn't a whole lot else to supplement it. Fortunately now, that red bar, that's that House Bill 2017. You can see that's getting our stream of revenue back up to a more manageable level where we can do the maintenance we need to do. That last bar, 2026 to 2027, would be the sunset of that bill. So that's a long-range projection. It equals about a 2.3% increase a year, which is good, but those of you in the construction trades also know that concrete and steel and asphalt tend to go up more than 2.3% a year. The county has about $135 million of bridges, probably $200 million or more of roads. So really, it's a $500 million infrastructure asset that everybody in this room has a piece of. It's important to keep that not only up to date, but not deferring maintenance to the point where it costs more. We've been in that mode long enough. We now know there's ground left to make up. Fortunately, that bill does that. The primary way we take care of our biggest maintenance program, if you will, is chip seal. This chart is really emblematic of everything we've done up to this point. The last 8, 9 years, we're averaging 10 or 12 miles a year. That's nowhere near a reasonable cycle to keep our roads in the condition they need to be. A heavier used road, a Monument Drive, Upper River Road, those roads need to be chip sealed every 6 to 8 years. And we have a 560-mile portfolio of roads. 12 miles a year is not going to get you there. So we're moving in kind of a new time of 35 miles a year. That gets us back to a better cycle in terms of keeping those roads fresher. Real quick, this is an old slide, but I think it underscores everything we try to do. We try to stay on that green line in terms of minor maintenance more often, not getting to a point where a road completely fails and we're having to rebuild that and dig it out, put in new base, new asphalt, everything else. That really has kind of been our charge as we go forward, is to not let something get so far gone, it's a major rebuild. The other big area we're going to be doing a lot of work is culverts. This slide is a bit deceiving because we didn't have the staff to inspect culverts on a regular basis. The bulk of these were done before 2010. So my feeling is the average culvert we have is probably closer to fair. And for those of you that have been around here a long time, there aren't a lot of new roads going in. These culverts date to the 50s and 60s. There's a lot of rusted galvanized steel out there that we're going to have to get at. A couple big projects moving ahead that I'm excited about. Julie mentioned the Merlin revitalization. We've got a sidewalk project out there going from Merlin Sanitarium to Robertson Bridge Road planned for this summer. That road carries about 7,000 cars a day. The average speed is 41 miles an hour. We need to get folks onto a sidewalk that's safe. And then the Sand Creek Bridge, bring it all the way back. Floating abutments don't work. We've tried it. That bridge is going to be a full rebuild. $1.6 million. We were lucky to get state emergency funds, so not a nickel came locally. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you very much, Rob Brandis. Next up is Transit. Scott Chansey.
Most people realize that there's public transit in Grants Pass. They just don't realize that it's the county that's running it. So here we go. The reason that is because you can probably see we have a different logo, so that's probably a contributing factor. We have 3 different types of service. We have fixed routes, and that's within the city of Grants Pass. And a fixed route is a route that runs on a regular schedule with regular stops, regular time zones, things like that. We also have another program that's a requirement of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and that's a federal requirement, and it's door-to-door service for people that can't use the fixed route because they have a disability. We extend that program to people that are over to the age of 62 as well. Besides those 2 services, we operate commuter routes. We go to K Junction, Merlin, Wolf Creek, and we also operate a service that goes to Medford via Road River and Gold Hill, and we operate that under the Road Valley commuter line. So this is where we operate. So the fixed routes, that's what's colored lines, and that right there, that's Road River Highway. We go out to Royal View, that's Road Community College, via Redwood Avenue and Hubbard. We go all the way to the north end of town, that's Vine, and then Morgan, as well as the east and west sides of Grants Pass. The yellow boundary outlining that is a 3/4 mile service area outside of all of our fixed routes. And what I talked to earlier about that ADA service, that's where we're required to provide that service. It's pretty expensive. It's door-to-door service. It's on demand, and we can't refuse any rides. So if 100 people call tomorrow for service, we have to supply 100 people with rides. We can't say we have a limit of 50. Sorry, didn't make it in today. So that service is fairly expensive. And this is what we do. So our fixed routes, this is the blue is 2009, the purple is 2018. So as you can see on the fixed routes within the city of Grants Pass, we went from 275 people a day, that's on average, to 686 people a day. The commuter, and I'd also add, we didn't add any service. So that's just a natural increase in people using our service, just the way that we provide it out on the road. The commuter routes obviously have gone up. We added a little bit of service there, but the interesting part I find is the demand response service. Most people wouldn't think that's real exciting to go down 14 people a day on average, but the savings of that is over $100,000 a year. That's the most expensive service we provide. It's typically one person at a time, and it's door to door, and it's anywhere within that 3/4 service amount area, and there's no trip priority. So if somebody wants to book 50 trips in one day, we can't say, sorry, we can only do 20. We got to provide all of them. So this is our budget. The majority of our funds come from the Federal Transit Administration. We receive a variety of funds from ODOT, the state. City of Grants Pass pays us money, but they also get it from ODOT, so they contribute the local match of $16,000. So we don't take any funds from the county, and we take $16,000 from the City of Grants Pass. We have a variety of other local funding with contract programs through RCC. We have a student pass program with RCC where a student just shows their student ID and they can ride anywhere in our service area for free. And then we have service contracts for clients such as DHS, a few other agencies like that. So as Rob mentioned, that there's a transportation funding package that came through. There's some specifics that came through just for transit. These are specific for transit services. And they are allocated specifically for transit operations improvements. Josephine County's allocation is $817,000 a year. That's pretty significant. That's 43% of my existing budget. So then the question will be, well, obviously we get the funds in 2019, but then the question will be is what are we going to do with them? So here's the list of service improvements that we've got considerable public input regarding that. The first thing that we'd like to do, we only operate Monday through Friday right now. We'd like to add Saturday service into that. It'll be limited service frequency, not what we do now, but it'll be limited, but at least we have something out there. We'd also like to improve the service frequency on all of our routes from 1 hour to 30 minutes on Tuesday. That'll give the system an entire 30-minute service frequency system-wide, which means the longest that you have to wait at any bus stop for the next bus to come by is 30 minutes. We would also like to expand the hours Monday through Friday going to at least 9:30. Currently we only operate till 6:30. And then expand our routes. There's considerable requests for service out to Murphy along further out Highway 238. We're up in the north end of Grants Pass. So that's our service improvements. And I think that is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott. Next up, Parks Department, Sarah Wright.
Hello, Josephine County. How's everybody doing? Still awake in the back, I hope. Just a couple more to go. I'm Sarah Garso Wright. I am the Parks Director for Josephine County, and I've had my seat since November 2015. Thank you for the Commissioner's vote of trust to put me in charge of parks. I absolutely love my job. These are the parks that I grew up in. I moved to Grants Pass when I was 8 years old and graduated both North Valley and Southern Oregon University. My parents live here, and I'm glad to be here. So let's see. Some people don't really think of parks as an essential service, but I want to hit on that point for a minute. Parks and Recreation, there's 3 values that make us essential service to communities. We provide economic value, health and environmental benefit, as well as social equality. Just as water, sewer, and public safety are essential public services, parks are vital to establish and maintain the quality of life. We ensure the health of family and youth, and we contribute to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. I bet for all you realtors in the room, when you're selling houses, people want to know about their local parks and what they can do to recreate. So thanks for selling homes here. Our local park system, we have been in existence since 1958. That's when we purchased White Horse Park and started our first employee. We consist of 20 amazing locations. All but 2 of those locations touch water. Of that, we have 8 campgrounds that we maintain and 16 boat ramps. We also have many day-use facilities, as well as some undeveloped locations that have some future potential with them. And we even manage Granite Hill Cemetery, which many people don't know that comes from the Parks Department. We are 100% self-funded, and we have been since 2006. We are not part of the general fund, and that means that we do not receive your tax dollars when you pay property tax. Our budget really only helps us maintain our normal maintenance for parks, the mowing of grass, changing your trash, that sort of stuff. It doesn't cover things like infrastructure repair or new projects. And when I got here, I saw a number, I think it was from 2010, and there was about $10.5 million in deferred maintenance. I imagine that number is more like 15 million at this time. Mr. Wally Hicks had pointed out about the property manager selling backlogged tax foreclosed properties for parks. That is a pot of money that we'll be able to use for capital projects and stretch grant money coming in order to help repair all of our facilities. Our park revenues, we are self-funded, as I said, and that means when you visit parks, we expect you to pay your fair share. We collect about $900,000 in camping fees and day use fees. On top of that, our next big pot of money is about $336,000 in RV fees and $11,000 from boater fees. Those are paid by people that own RVs and boats. They pay their registration every year. It goes up to the state, and then it trickles back down to all the counties in Oregon. Those fees are meant specifically to maintain the campgrounds and boat ramps so that the RV and boat owners can use them. Additional $20,000 come in economic development funds each year, and then the last of the money is split up by shelter reservations, special events, citations, ice, and wood. It's imperative that each individual pays for the services that they incur in parks. It's $5 every time you come to a Josephine County Parks. Now, a lot of people groan and don't want to pay the $5, but I say to you that like to use parks, buy a $30 annual pass. It's $30, that's $2.50 a month when you buy it up front in January. Without day use fees, we'd be unable to mow our lawns, change the trashes, and keep clean bathrooms. We are now financially stable, I'm proud to say. We were put through the ringer with the recession like a lot of the departments were. We will be up to 10.8 full-time employees by the time of the new budget year. We have increased by 4 full-time employees here just since 2015. That puts a total of 6 park rangers out in the field to maintain all 20 locations. During the summer, we do hire about 15 seasonal workers to help us out. There are going to be 3.8 individuals in the office, plus myself. One of the big things we're working on right now is bringing campground reservations in-house. So right now, if you want to stay to Josephine County Parks, you have to go through Reserve America. We're going to be bringing that back in-house in order to provide great quality customer service. Some of our priorities, we're going to be working on effective marketing, increasing park use. We have a renovation plan for White Horse Park. It's going to turn it into a modern RV facility. And then we're going to revise Lake Sonic as well. Lake Sonic has a lot of lakeweed, as many people are familiar, and it needs to be dredged, so we are paying attention to those things. Kind of to toot our own horn, some of the things we've been doing over the past year is repairing a lot of things that have been neglected. So we're putting ramps at toilets to make them ADA accessible. We had some that had a big step in front of them. We've been repairing fences and roofs. We're starting to look at our campgrounds and rebuild a lot of what we have. We invite public opinion. If you want to see something done in parks, shoot us an email, come to a Parks Advisory Board meeting. We love to serve our public. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Sarah. You got a lot? Did you catch all that? You talk faster than anybody I know. Great job. Next up, Dave Streeter, our forestry manager.
Lou, as he mentioned, Dave Streeter, Forestry Program Director. I will not be accused of taking too much of your time. We basically manage about 30,000 acres of timberland in Josephine County. Of that, about 25,000 is actually productive. We manage it with the philosophy of getting the greatest economic return and in-growth return off of those lands, which means we want to grow the most timber on those lands we can. We want to do that on a sustained yield basis, and state and federal laws will ensure that any sensitive resources are protected on those lands. Little as I mentioned, almost 30,000 acres in inventory, about 155 separate tracts across the county with a little over 1,000 types, timber types within those tracts. Total conifer volume is about 180 million board feet of timber. Merchantable timber, which is about 12 inches at breast height, is about 122 million board feet. We currently cruise about 2,500 acres a year to put into our inventory system and keep that inventory accurate over time. If you were to take a shotgun and shoot the county, that's what our ownership looks like. It has its pluses and minuses. We're kind of insulated from catastrophic events such as fires, things of that nature. We won't lose it all in one shot, but it does make it a little bit inefficient to get around to all those tracks all the time. Improvements that we've made in 2016, when I arrived here, I inherited about 9 timber sales that were already laid out, ready to sell. Had to sell them under the shotgun really quick. Mounted about a little over $6.5 million, $6.7 million. We averaged $286 a thousand board feet for total receipts of $1.82 million. I finally got the opportunity to get my grubby little fingers on the sale program, sold $6.2 million, and we made $465 a thousand, $2.88 million on that almost same amount of volume. Things that we did was we made some efficiency improvements and made some changes in the way we design and silvicultural prescriptions that we do on the ground. Basically made our sales more appealing to those who buy them. We also made some changes in bidding procedures, just from going to an oral auction to a sealed bid, netted the county $260,000, just in that simple change. We reduced our FTE, full-time equivalent employees, by 2 people, so that reduced some of our costs. And for this coming year, we have 7 sales planned, almost 9 million feet. Our sustained yields usually around 6 to 7 million. We're bumping it up. Prices are good. We're going to make hay. We'll drop it back down in the future and make up for that ground. Oops. Service to the public, we do our annual youth tree plant. Coincidentally, today was the first day of this year's. We do about 1,000 youth in Josephine and Jackson County. They plant about 4,000 seedlings over a 3-day time period. We provide a rare access to private and public firewood, mostly residual products from our timber sales. And then we also provide over-the-counter assistance and advice to the public. Our goals for 18-19, continue to look into ways to market forest products for the greatest return to the citizens of Josephine County, improve our inventory accuracy and knowledge of the inventory, continue to work towards permanent access to all of our tracts through easements and reciprocal agreements with other landowners, and finalize a long-term guiding principle in ordinance to protect our program in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Wonderful presentation. As you can see, I'll just kind of kick this off because this is the end of my first year as county commissioner. And I just want to say, as you can see, in the last 2 hours, we have some really, really passionate managers and department head leaders. Everybody in this, it's been a pleasure to work with each and every one of them. I'm so blessed to have been elected to this office. Like I say, it's the end of my first year, and to be honest with you, I go home every night with a smile on my face, and I go to work every day with a smile on my face. I want to take just a quick opportunity to Wendy, who's been our timekeeper, and as you can see, we are right on schedule. Wendy Watkins, and also Ricky Perrin of the administrative staff. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And they made all this happen, plus all of our IT and everybody else that got involved in this. I think it's been a very good presentation. So at the end of my first year, like I said, I'm blessed to be here, and I can't wait. Actually, I'm looking forward to the next 3 years. Sometimes it's a pretty tough day at the office. I'll tell you what, you're not going to intimidate an old man like me. I was born and raised right here in Josephine County. You're not going to kick me out. I don't care how hard you try. Another thing that's unique about all 3 commissioners, all 3 of us were born in Josephine County and lived our entire lives here, other than education and military service. So that really pulls the qual up here when you know that your representatives are truly here to represent the issues in Josephine County. So we appreciate it. A lot of faces in the audience. I'd love Judge Baker, I see you back there. Aaron Kubik from the City of Grants Pass City Manager. There's a lot of people. I can't tell all of you who all is out there, but thank you all for coming. I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, and to finish this off, Simon Hare, Commissioner Simon Hare. He's been a heck of a member for me, and I consider him to be a great friend. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say thanks for all of you guys coming out here tonight. We've never done one of these before quite like this. In the past, we've done them when in combination with the city. And those have gone well, but I felt like we kind of sometimes didn't get a chance to tell our story, which is true. We don't do a very good job at the county of telling our story, and for years it hasn't been the most positive story to tell. It's been just a pleasure. This has been my life for the last 7 years, just dealing with all of these great people. Every single one of them I had the privilege of hiring, minus the electeds, except for 2, Rob Brandis and Veteran Services Officer Lisa Picard. And I have to pay special tribute to Rosemary Paget. She was our CFO for a number of years when I first took office. And I know that I wouldn't be as successful, and neither would have all the programs. A lot of those things that we benefit from today are things that she set up years ago. I love my job. We are a team here at Josephine County, and that is our attitude with everything we do, from presentations to the day-to-day job, and it just shows. I think you heard a resounding theme through a lot of the programs. They don't get general fund dollars, and that's not typical in a lot of counties. We set the bar because we don't have a lot of general fund dollars. We spend your guys' tax money as wisely and efficiently as possible. Even when you're generating more money through harvests or any other efficiency measures, we don't look to just spend it because we have it. We look to put it to good use for each and every one of you guys here today. So I'm so proud of our staff. I couldn't be more proud. We have the best people in the state. I know this. I'm all over the place all the time. And Larry Graves, our airport manager of the year last year. Every single one of our programs are run with caliber of people far above where Josephine County is looked at from sometimes around the state. But that is changing every day. Every time we get an opportunity to espouse the virtues of living in this great county. It's been a pretty stable year, I'll tell you. We've only had 2 new commissioners. They are great people. Lily is out of town right now. She's working for us, doing some really important federal issues. 2 different clerks. That was interesting. I got the stat that for 32 years with George F. Brown and Art Harvey, we only had 2 different clerks. And in the last year, we've had 2. So it's a tumultuous time in the clerk's office, but we appreciate what they do. And a public health director, that's all we've hired. So in 7 years, we've replaced every other manager, but this year, I think this is an indicator of the stability that we have. The citizens taking notice of what's going on at the county level and investing in the future of our community with a 5-year law enforcement levy, a renewal of the 5-year animal control or animal protection care department that the sheriff's rebranded, and the library district creation of that, and the jail bond being paid off. Those are huge accomplishments, and we didn't do it, you guys did it, the citizens of Josephine County, and couldn't say thanks enough for that. I'm going to go right into accomplishments, try to keep this short. Those are the things that we've done. That's not all the things. Those are the things that the board's been kind of in charge of that nobody else has really captured, I hope. One of the things that's really positive about what happened with the levy is we didn't use all tax dollars in order to open up the juvenile shelter and detention facility. The shelter is being paid for out of forest trust, so every tree that's cut that isn't utilized by the program is reinvested in a program that benefits the community. Those are good kids in bad situations that had nowhere to go when we had to shut it down. And that was probably one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make in the last 2 terms, was shutting that juvenile shelter and detention facility. And I didn't enjoy that day at all. But those are some of the things that we've accomplished in this last year, and they're gonna serve us really well for time to come in the future. I wanted to talk a little bit about where we were. People talk about 2012 and 13, and this is just one program. That was probably the worst day in office. I signed the pink slips as the chair for 130 plus employees. One of the largest budget reductions you'll ever see in any county in the state of Oregon. We cut nearly $40 million that year, and we still kept 80% of the programs still operating. So we tightened our belt like nobody really ever has and kept things going, and it was the staff that made it happen. There was a lot of people that are new in the room because they couldn't deal with trying to do a park system with 8 or 9 employees where they had 20 before. And it's that kind of stuff that that's got us to where we are today. We were going to close the doors on so many different things, and that's not where we're at today. When I took office, we had 446 employees, and we got down to below 300 in 2012-13. We had a budget at $68 million that year. When I took office, it was 110. You can see the dramatic changes that we had to go through, but we have come so far. We are in a different place. We are contemplating a 2-year budget because of the fiscal stability that this county has achieved over the last 7 years, and I couldn't be more proud of the staff that we have who've gotten us to this position. So now we're looking and, oh, missed that one. This is what we're doing on the federal outlook. It does take our time. Counties are the bedrock of what happens in government. We are the most accessible to the people we work for, the citizens of the county we represent. But we have to work with the state, we have to work with the feds. The state is in their short session right now. It's going on, and we're having to deal with some issues that are popping up there. Hopefully we can manage those. The federal issues that are fairly pertinent to us that we're aware of are the Westerman bill, which is a forest management bill. ONC is a big deal to us. We used to get $14 million of general fund discretionary dollars. This last year we got 2.3. It's really tough to operate your business, provide the same level of services with 1/7 of the revenue you used to get. And so that's an important bill for us. I'm working on a property exchange. A lot of our parks are, we have the most complex system of ownership in all western counties, right here in Josephine County, between private, public, more easy access and better access to the river, so all of you can take advantage of that. Fire borrowing is a distraction of the Senate and probably won't take up the Westerman bill. They're looking at the reauthorization of secure rural schools, which I understand yesterday just died, and but they are looking at a PILT reauthorization. Secure rural schools is an appropriation that was supposed to be bridge funding for us to achieve a different way in managing our forests. Congress has not moved forward with that, and so we're still waiting. And those payments expired in October of 2015, so we're on shared receipts that we haven't been on in quite some time. It's a new era, and hopefully those improve in the volume, and we get some revenue coming back to our county to do the things we want to do in the future. So a lot of our programs talked about customer service. That is paramount. We work for you, and that's my impression. That's the way this board has been just inspiring our programs to remember that's the reason we're here, service. Improve public outreach and relations. This is step 1 in getting this presentation. It'll be live streamed. It was live streamed. It will be archived on our website and broken up into different presentations in the future. But this is just the beginning. We need to tell our story. We have a great story, and you didn't get to hear all of it today. 5 minutes of whack is not very long, but you can see 2 hours is long enough to be sitting in these most comfortable chairs. Efficiency and best practices. I am wicked frugal. This board is frugal. We need to do stuff and make it the best possible for the people that we work for. Properties and facilities master plan. We have acquired properties throughout the decades, and in the last year, with the legal counsel's office and the property manager, we've sold over 120 different properties, put it back on the tax rolls, got it out of our liability, and those revenues are reinvested in parks and forestry. Talking about for decades, but we are going to do it. We're looking to hire a project manager for that, which is something we've never really done. We've always tried to do it in-house, and it's never really been accomplished. And I think that's the way you get things done, is you put somebody in charge of it who eats, sleeps, and breathes that issue, and it will get done. And so I'm very optimistic that that's going to happen. Dear to my heart is the Illinois Valley, and that's where I grew up, born and raised. And so we're going to work on doing some significant things to help them in their 2020 vision, to try to implement that plan. Great plan. And there's going to be resources dedicated to that through economic development, other partnerships. But there was revenue that was generated by divesting ourselves of the CJ County building, about $300,000, $200,000 or $300,000, I can't remember the number. But we're going to reinvest that board's decision back in the Illinois Valley. They presented us with a plan. It's going to be great. It's going to transform downtown, make online businesses more accessible to the internet, broadband. It's going to be really good. Coordination Committee, natural resources is something that's near and dear to my heart. I think we need to work with our federal agencies better, and that's what that's going to do. code codification. It was a request I made on day one, and this counselor, Counselor Hicks, is actually going to bring it to fruition. Yeah, I've been in office for a little over 7 years. Stuff takes a while, but we're going to get that there. The forestry ordinance codifying how we manage our forest lands so that we don't have boards coming in the future and taking down all of those trees all in one good year, because they need money. That's not the way you manage an asset. Southern Oregon Marijuana Initiative, this is Dan DeYoung's baby, but it's really addressing the promise that the commissioners made when the voters supported the levy, that wasn't necessarily intended for a long-term solution. We were never going to stop looking for long-term funding solutions that didn't go to your back pocket and ask you for more taxes. And the City-County Emergency Services Plan, something I'd say, and that is we're working on hiring somebody for that. There's a partnership that's going to be done between the cities of Cave Junction, Grants Pass, and in this region. It's coming, the Cascadia, and we all need to be prepared for that, whatever else happens. So the other thing that I'll mention about that, a huge accomplishment, we did the first community wildfire protection plan. Wildfire is an issue for Southern Oregon. We did the first regional community wildfire protection plan in the nation, right here in Josephine and Jackson County, spearheaded by Josephine County. And it was a pleasure of mine to be part of that. You can get involved. There are elections going on. You've got a couple of days to file. I know we've got some candidates in the room tonight. My position's open. I'm doing this one term more than I wanted to. It's been a sacrifice and a dedication of my life, and I would never take it back. But it's not meant to be a career for me. It's got to be, that next generation of leadership coming forward. Our sheriff is up for re-election. One of our clerks is up. The clerk currently appointed by the board is up for election. Councilor Hicks's position is up, and he's up. Representatives, Congress, Senate, get involved. These are the things that you can do. Coming out tonight, you guys are stellar members of our community because you decided to get involved by coming here tonight. So these are some of the ways that I would suggest that you get paid and get involved. One of the things these are the result of people getting involved. We've got a sheriff's levy, we've got an animal control levy, and it's not just revenue. I don't want to get focused on that, but it's programs that the public wants, and they're being supported by our community. That's what's key. I wanted to say thank you to people, all of the volunteers that the county has. The city does a great thing. They honor their volunteers one night, besides many others. And we should probably consider something like that. Here, Alan is a part-time surveyor. He is, in Klamath County, they pay their salary just like any other elected official. This guy does so much work for free to the public each and every day that nobody really appreciates. And then Rhiannon, our clerk, and then Ryan Johnson, our facilities director. That guy works really, really hard to keep the doors open, clean, lights, switches coming on when you need them, and everything else. I couldn't say enough about. There was one project I want to say about Ryan Johnson. He got an energy efficiency grant for the courthouse, $700,000 grant to make our courthouse more efficient. Went on natural gas instead of electricity, saves a tremendous amount of money every year. And it's not something that makes the papers. It won't ever see the front of the Courier, but it's just one example of the efficiencies that we have going on in our county. Last thing I want to say is thank you so much to Wild River. They did this of their own fruition. They came forward and said we would like to help and sponsor this event, provide some light appetizers and drinks, and so can't say enough about them. And all of you for coming out here tonight. I hope that I didn't miss any notes because I didn't look at any of them. That's late work. I need to take notes from JJ on how he does stuff. The other one was Moving Mountains and Nova Visuals. They're here and they're helping us get our message out. And thank you very much. Drive safely.